Well, hello, everyone, and welcome again to the podcast. And I'm really excited for you to get to know today Tobin Richardson. And Tobin has started a platform called Save the Therapist. And so you're going to learn a whole lot about that. So, welcome, Tobin. Glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, and when I started learning about his platform, I think it's going to be something you're going to really enjoy hearing about because it has to do with helping people get their CEs in a way that's user friendly and very, very cost effective because it doesn't cost anything. But Tobin, as I start with everyone, why don't you tell folks a little more about yourself and how you've landed where you landed?
Yeah, for sure. So, also a therapist. My background has been always, for the vast majority of my career, in counselor education. So, I've worked at a couple different organizations, kind of leading in-house educational initiatives. And through those roles, I came to believe a couple things really strongly. And one was that undoubtedly is some pockets of great CE stuff out there. There's some really amazing in-person stuff. There's, I think, a lot of opportunity to grow in online CE platforms. So that was something I've learned and tested and been able to try to address through those roles. And then the second thing I really wanted to do is to be able to provide stuff that people don't have to pay a subscription fee for. Especially post COVID, a lot of licensure boards have gotten much more lenient about allowing more stuff to be done online. And so, yeah, I've spent the last few years really kind of trying to ask myself, can I help solve this problem? And about 2 years ago, I thought, I'm going to try. Like, I have this idea for something that I think would be work towards a solution. And that's where Save the Therapist came from.
Well, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I love hearing from people that just kind of develop a passion for what they're doing. And this sounds like that's something that has really been true for you. Yet tell us more about the platform and how it works and all of that sort of thing.
For sure. So again, two kind of really unique things about the platform. The first part of it is that I have always been a huge fan of produced podcasting stuff. I always tell the story of back in 2019, I love this really popular podcast called This American Life. It's like an NPR
Hmm.
style podcast.
Yeah.
They did an episode on cognitive processing therapy, which was designed for anyone. That's the audience is not
Hmm.
therapists necessarily for that
Hmm.
podcast. But it was this story this journalist did of going through cognitive processing therapy and recorded the sessions and, cut to the therapist kind of talking about why she was doing some of the different techniques she was doing. And it was so educational. Like I
Hmm.
just will never forget listening to that and thinking that is one of the best educational experiences I've had in an hour. I feel like I could do CPT to Fidelity like that this
Hmm.
quick. I would be really excited to use it. So I started tinkering with making stuff in that format. And luckily I was like in roles in counselor ed where I could test it, with large
Hmm.
populations of therapists. Got really great feedback, even in some of my early stuff that I listen back to now and I'm like not particularly proud of. It's
Don't we
been
all that do podcasts? Yeah.
right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so I wanted to build stuff in that format. The other part of what I thought I could do is I knew that I could basically do this all myself. Like I had the right mixture of experiences and interests that didn't need a team. Like I knew that I could kind of just build this out. I knew how to go through the process. The biggest gatekeeper in the whole process is it's really hard to get the right accreditations, but I had done this for a couple organizations I worked
Hmm.
at.
Hmm.
So just started slowly building out a platform. Always my goal was because the thing people always get really caught up on is like, what do you mean free? Like, what's the catch? How does this operate?
Hmm.
There's
Hmm.
so many scams we're all exposed to now. So I think
Sure.
people's just radar goes up when you say something's free. So the way I had always hoped to operate, and it looks like this is going to work out, is just as a nonprofit organization where any money that came into the organization would be the purpose would be to fulfill the mission, like keeping these free. And I thought I could probably get enough therapists on there that I'd be able to fund it through things like sponsorships. A lot of people are trying
Mm-hmm.
to reach therapists. And so that's the hope. I still haven't actually landed a sponsorship to fund the platform, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting close. So I'm getting
Mm-hmm.
closer to thinking, okay, this can be sustainable through this format.
Sure.
I always tell people I'm never gonna. I honestly, I'll shut the platform down before I ever add a payment. Like that's
Okay.
just
Okay.
incredibly important to me. Is that
Mm-hmm.
that it remains totally 100% free, and I
Mm-hmm.
think I can work still.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure.
no, no strings attached. That's kind of just the way it works.
Right. Right. Well, I love that concept, and and I'm sure you've thought about this. The one of the platforms that I think came to mind for me was like Wikipedia. I mean, they're at least I think I might be wrong now, but at least for a long, long time they operated on just the fact that people were willing to contribute to that and make donations to keep it going. So I think you're right. I think this platform is going to be of value to a lot of people, and I know most of us are used to paying for CEs and would be willing to contribute.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I think you're right. My the courses are all very introductory level. So I love that you brought up Wikipedia, because I do think there's some parallels in the sense that I think one of the reasons Wikipedia works so well is it's just so easy to get the information that you want
Mm-hmm.
quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a huge deal. Most of my career has been in community mental health, and I just am incredibly aware of all of the cognitive load that's always placed on therapists from so many directions. Even if you're desperately want to learn about a topic, how do you fit that into your normal day? I mean,
Right.
it's extremely difficult for a lot of therapists. So it's another reason the podcast format was important to me. I really wanted it to be a platform where if you're commuting to work that day and you're thinking, I have this client on my caseload, I feel stuck with them, I need a resource like quickly to kind of learn about this topic or an evidence-based practice, you can do it in that format. So
Right. Right.
I hope that's the way people are utilizing the resources.
Yeah.
I think the CE part is huge, but I know some of my listeners don't even want or need the CEs. They just need a
Mm-hmm.
resource to be able to go in and quickly
Right.
get the information they need.
Right, right. Well, one thing that occurred to me, and you're talking about your story about This American Life, which I love that podcast as well. It's been one I've listened to for years. But I think for a lot of us, particularly those of us that have maybe been in practice for a while, we have a knowledge base already. And the different theories around therapy, there are a lot of similarities and a lot of overlap, as we always know. And I think what I heard from you was is that you were given a concept there and you thought, okay, I get this, I can do this kind
Yeah.
of thing. And I think that's true for most all of us. I mean, I think, if you've been doing it a while or, I think people maybe have a little bit of imposter syndrome because of the way that we've kind of instituted, like certifications and that kind of thing. And people get very territorial around those different methods and that kind of thing. But I think if you understand a concept, and like you said, in these short snippets, when I say short, you're offering 1 hour CEs. So, I mean, that's great. That's great. I love that.
Yes, for sure. I always think my hope is it's a good resource too to see if you want, because there might be a thing or two per year that you can really dig into, an advanced training on.
Hmm.
Can't do that. You can't do that with every topic. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
sometimes you just need to know the basics and need to know if it's something you're interested in investing more time in learning about.
Right, right. So tell us a little more about the different, maybe the different topics that you're covering and some of the episodes there.
Yeah, for sure. So I really try to drive course topics by user feedback, suggestions.
Hmm.
I've found want to prioritize topics that are really practical, maybe emerging topics that it's hard to find training on. So, an example, one of the courses I've released more recently, which I mean, I learned a lot from these just on the development side too, was on incel culture, which I've seen kind of bubble up in a lot of therapist message boards and things like that,
Hmm.
issues surrounding that. You know, you can get a lot of information on that topic. Can you get it through a therapeutic lens that's helpful in figuring out how does this actually apply if I have a person sitting in front of me who identifies with this community?
Hmm.
Like I could never find that.
Yeah.
So I first try to kind of identify those topics. And then I try to, I mean, something you have to do to offer CE credit is be able to find the right content experts who are really willing to dig into that topic in a conversational.
Hmm.
And sometimes you can, and sometimes that's more difficult. Uh,
Right.
but for that topic, like I found perfect person who is an international expert actually on that topic and had sort of focused his practice on that community who
Wow.
can really could really talk about very practical way. This is
Hmm.
what could be going on here. These are the things you need to think about. These are the times you need to refer these cases out because that topic especially it's not one that's everybody is going to feel comfortable working with. And so yeah, that's an example of a type of topic I've done and hope to kind of
Hmm.
always kind of hope to guide the topics we set on
Right.
the platform.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that. I love that because, yeah, I think there are so many times for those of us doing therapy, we get stuff handed to us and we think, oh, wow, what's this?
Yeah.
And just, and so you, again, having the platform to be able to gain that knowledge in the short snippets. The other thing that I love about the way you're doing this is the fact that as we have all experienced, and I think especially since COVID, it's real easy to get really weary of spending a lot of time on a screen or watching a course or listening to a course that is, 8 hours long or whatever. And, I signed up for a course the other day that it's going to be like 42 hours of content. And so, I'm just thinking, okay, how am I going to work that in, to be able to do that? I could, I could probably travel somewhere and do those in-person things, which I think are fun, like you said earlier. But yeah, but I love the way that it's kind of in short snippets and that sort of thing.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's so actually the way the course format
Mhm.
operates is that every course, every topic has a 30-minute podcast and then a takeaway packet that equal together for one credit hour of CE stuff. So every
Mhm.
with a lot of topics there are visuals that are really helpful. And I think
Mhm.
it also helps if you like you can print off the packet or whatever if you would
Right.
or save it on your desktop. But I totally agree. I mean, I've just heard over and over again from so many therapists, like, I can't stare at a computer screen for another hour. I'm doing that.
Uh-huh.
I'm doing today. So I always say, I would suggest listen to a podcast on a walk or a commute or while you're doing
Mhm.
laundry. It's
Mhm.
just you can
Uh,
multitask in so many
yeah,
ways.
yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's really quite honestly is about, I would say probably 95% of the content I consume now is done in that way. Whether
Yes.
I'm either at the gym listening to something or driving somewhere, and that's how I consume stuff. Even if I want to read a quote unquote, I'm using air quotes, read a book for fun, I listen to it on an audio book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. Yep.
Yeah.
It's so much more efficient.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, Tobin, kind of walk us through. I know with a lot of with CEs, there are like quizzes you need to take and all of that sort of thing. So, kind of walk us through your process and how people can sign up or start looking and that kind of thing.
For sure. Yeah. So you can check out all the website and the courses and all the details on it just at the website, savethetherapist.com. If you to take a CE course, you have to actually log into the platform.
Hmm.
So even though all the podcasts are on Spotify and Apple Music, and you can listen to them in 2 seconds with just searching on those platforms, there's no way around. If you issue a CE credit, you have to get somebody to sign in. You have to, as the provider, I have to collect the data, and you do have to pass a post test and do an evaluation and all that stuff.
Hmm.
Everything on the platform has been designed to with the idea of this needs to be as easy and as user friendly as possible. So I think we have done a good job of that. To getting through kind of the course is, I think, very user friendly. But yeah, you do have to kind of jump through some of those
Hmm.
that are required for an accreditor. And then once you pass the post test for a course, you get the certificate of completion emailed to you, and it's also like within the portal.
Hmm.
So you have them, regardless of how you need them, kind of for your specific renewal.
Hmm.
And we have NBCC and Association of Social Work Boards provider approval,
Hmm.
which most, CE process is so complicated because it's literally hundreds of different licensure boards
Right.
are
Right.
trying to, decide if they want to take your credit or not. So it's really hard for me as a provider. I never guarantee,
Hmm.
account, but it's something between like 80, really probably closer to 90% of therapist licensure boards will accept credit that's approved provider by one of those organizations. So
Right. Right. Yeah.
we're always working on trying to make it more, like there are pockets of people who wouldn't be able to use as CE credit right now. And hopefully
Hmm.
that's a 2026 goal. Like we got to figure out how to get the right approvals for those people.
Hmm.
Uh, but hopefully most people could use them.
Right, right. One question I have is that if someone signs up and they want to listen to one of the podcasts, is there an app or is there can they listen to the podcast on any podcast platform or how does that work?
Yep. So any podcast platform, so Spotify and Apple Music, which I think are the two major ones. So if you just search
Yeah.
Save a Therapist, you'll see the whole course library of podcasts there. Go in and choose one, that sounds most interesting. And then if you need to after that, go log into the platform and get the CE credit, you can. But
Mm-hmm.
you could just listen to it, within 5 seconds. That way too.
Mm-hmm. Right. Wow, that's great. That's great. And I'm hoping that people will take advantage of this. I know I am probably as soon as I get off of this interview, but and I'm certainly going to share it with my staff at my practice because I think they'll be excited about that as well. But Tobin, I guess we need to be mindful of our time and that sort of thing. But what are some closing thoughts you have about all of this?
Oh man, I would say another interesting thing when you're a CE provider is you get so much therapist feedback, because everybody who gets a CE has to submit an
Hmm.
evaluation. It's just also it's something I already believed, but this has made me believe more. Like therapists are doing incredible work. They're so motivated to learn about things that are going to impact their caseload, in a positive way. So it's just given me a lot of energy, to feel like
Hmm.
there's a way I can give back to a community of people who are just so like motivated to be with their clients and work through some very difficult things. So
All right. Right.
it's a great community to be a part of.
Yeah, it is. And ditto to all of that. I know I say to folks all the time, you know, I'm big, as we were chatting about before we started recording, I'm really big on self-care, and people do hand us a lot of heavy things. And so I think part of self-care is being able to give yourself the knowledge to feel confident about what you're doing with people, and feeling co not so much competent, but confident, because I think everybody is competent in their own way. But so totally,
Yeah.
totally agree. So folks, go to, again, it's savethetherapist.com and take a look at it. And of course, we'll have links here in the show notes and the show summary and that sort of thing. And also, I'm going to have to look up that episode from This American Life that you were talking about now.
Yeah, you should. It's still very
Yeah.
good. It's called 10
Yeah.
Sessions.
Okay. All right. Well, and we'll probably put a link to that in the show notes and show summary as well, because that's a cool thing. So, well,
Yeah.
Tobin, thanks for being on the podcast, and hopefully we'll be back in touch. You'll be back in touch with us, and we can have you on again to talk some more about what you're learning through this process. Brilliant idea, and thanks for putting it out there.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much.